and
This
let's start the
conference
session.
will now be recorded.
All right, so firstly, any questions, guys? Anyone, any questions before we get started? Anyone, anything before we get started? So just a recap, we started with PaaS services yesterday. We said what Azure PaaS really is about. What do you mean by platform as a service? How is it different from infrastructure as a service? And we started with, let's say, a simple PaaS service called as an app service or a web app in Azure. And we were talking about what is an app service plan and all these things out there. So yes, any questions that I can take there? Anyone, any questions that I can take there?
స్టార్ట్ అయింది.
Yes, anyone, any questions that I can take? Okay, so let's go ahead and start this out. Yes, the session is being recorded. So let's see. Again, to create a web application, we're talking about one specific topic called as a web app out here. Again, you need a tenant, you need a subscription. So you have a tenant, you have a subscription. Under a subscription, you can create multiple resource groups out here. So all you need is just one resource group. And under a resource group, you will need something called as an app service plan. The very first thing that gets created is an app service plan in this entire architecture, which tells you, or which rather decides, what is the capacity of infrastructure that you're going to get. That whether it's a 1 GB RAM or whether it's something called as an ACU model, Azure Compute Units model, and what kind of a processor is it, what kind of a RAM is it, and all these things out. And finally, you get the Azure App Service. And as in when you get the Azure App Service, I'm now telling that Azure App Service is nothing but a virtual machine that is running in the background. It's like a simple VM that's running in the background. But what Microsoft did is that Microsoft created this VM, did all the networking, did all the size adjustments, and etc. And just installed IIS on top of it, and also gave you a URL that you can access with. Instead of a public IP address, you can simply take a URL that you can access with, and let's understand multiple options that is there inside this and etc. So when I go here, so let's go and create a new resource group. Okay, let's do the resource group firstly. I'll say this is a demo web app, something like ECS2. And tags, I don't need any tags out here. I'll just go ahead review and create this out. And once created, I will just go ahead and say create. And in here, I'll just go ahead and I'll search for something called web app or app service. So let's say app service. Again, it's app service environment. A lot of things actually pop out here. Again, this is the web app that I want to create. So if you just want to create a simple app service, just go ahead into the search bar, say app service. This is the app service out here. I'll just go here. I'll say create this out. So I'm directly creating the app service without the plan, because I know that when I'm creating the app service, the plan will also get created. If you want to do it, let's say one after the other, the app service plans, create an app service plan. After that, you can create a app service. Anything's okay with me. Again, if you want to do this, let's go and do that. I'll say this is demo web app out here. I'll say something like demo plan. Name of the plan, it's a Windows plan that I want. It's in a location called ECUS2 that I want this on out in. Again, it's just going to ask you what is the pricing tier. I'll say this is F1. I'll say tags, review, and create this out. So I'm firstly creating the app service plan, and also Microsoft gives you the template for downloads. You can create this template out here. We'll also see how do you create ARM template for the same thing. I'll say create the plan. So I'm initially creating a plan, and then later I'm creating the web app. Again, you can follow any methodology. I'm super cool with that. If you want to directly go and create the app service, I'm also okay with it. If you want to first create the plan and come one after the other, I'm also good with that. So I've in this class I'm creating, let's say, the storage account, sorry, the resource group firstly, and then I'm going ahead and creating the plan secondly. Third, I'm going ahead and creating the web app in a strategic way. So I'm just going ahead, and this is the plan. And if you look at this, It says a demo plan. This is an app service plan out here, and it says that okay, fine, the status is ready, the location is ECS2, and it tells you that the plan is a free plan. It's an F1 free plan, so no cost at all, subscription ID and etc. And very importantly, all the apps that are running. When I say all the apps, all the web apps that can run inside this particular plan, which means that under one app service plan, you can host multiple web apps, not just one. Host multiple web apps, and the cost that you pay. Now, the charge that you pay is not per a web app, it's per a plan. The charge is per a plan. In the whatever cost that you're paying right now is per a plan out here. So you do not really have to, let's say, worry about, let's say, I have multiple web apps and will I be charged more? No. It is the cost that incurs at an app service plan level. That is what you really pay for. And in here it says there are no apps. So let's go and create one. I'll say this is app service. There are no app services. I'll start the creation. Again, it can be in any resource group, not a problem. But if you want to, let's say, go ahead and place this application under this particular app service plan, both of them have to be in the same location or in the same region. In my case, the app service plan is in ECS2, so I will have to create my web app also in ECS2. But I'll just go ahead and give something like demo web app test 1000, which is available. Azure websites.net. This is important. The extension is important that you need to just understand this out. I'll say the runtime stack is a .NET Core application, Windows. I'll say it is EastUS2. That's where I created my plan. Just scroll down. And automatically, your plan is listed here. Demo plan, F1, and all these things. Again, you can create a new one out here and etc. But I just want to use this. I'll say deployment. I'll disable all these things. Networking, I'll disable all these things also. Monitoring, I'll just, let's say, shut it down for now. We'll talk about what monitoring and alerting is, let's say, in a separate class. So I'll just shut down the monitoring. I'll say tags, review, and create. Again, I haven't done any tags out here. I'm just going and creating something called as the app service right now. So I already have all these resources, the resource group, the app service plan, and I'm now going ahead and creating the app service inside this particular plan out here. And it goes ahead, creates out something called as the app service for me. This is what it's doing on an end-to-end basis, where it's saying, okay, fine, I'm going in and creating something called as the app service for you out here as such. So is any questions still here? Anyone, any questions still here that I can take? It is going to take about a minute or so. So any questions that I can take till you?
Creating the name or something else, Azure dot something else is there. No? What is the meaning of that? It's at a website name or anything? App name?
It's the website name.
Sorry, website name.
It's the website name, yes. It's a
Okay,
fully qualified domain name.
okay, okay, okay.
Yes, no more questions here. Okay, so let me go into the resource group. And in the resource group again, I earlier had a plan. If I go into the plan, if I go into the apps, now I have one app with the name called demo web app test and etc. This is running. You can also click on this one. And now you are inside the app service. And you have a couple of details out here telling what is the resource group of the app service. What is the status of the app service, whether it's running or whether it's stopped or whatever it is. What is the location, and what is the URL? This is the URL that you're talking about. When I click this is the website name that I get, or is this is the URL that I get, or I would, in a very technical terminology, I would say that this is a fully qualified domain name that I get, FQDN, a fully qualified domain name what I get out here when I create something called as the app service. And I'll see, okay, a fully qualified domain name and all these things out. And then I have something called FTP, hostname, FTPS, hostname, and a couple of options out here like configurations and all these things, which we are going to, let's say, look at one after the other. And it also tells me what is the app service plan that I, let's say, have created this particular application under this one out. So now I have in the background, this is what is happening right now. In the background, when you're creating something called as a plan, You're just telling what is the capacity of your plan. In my case, I said, you know what, it's a 1 GB capacity of my plan out here. Free plan 1 GB capacity. So what Microsoft did in the background is that they created something called as a VM, sorry, not a gateway. They created something called as a VM in the background. There's something that you cannot access again. And they just went ahead on this VM, added a process called as a web app. Nothing but an IIS server that is running on your virtual machine. So the plan, I mean the app service is running under the plan. Plan is nothing but a simple virtual machine in the background. And when I said that you can go ahead and add multiple websites under the same plan, it's nothing but you're just adding multiple IIS, let's say servers or multiple IIS processes on the virtual machine in the background. You'll have multiple IIS processes that is running on the VM in the background that you have out there. Again, this VM is something that you cannot access. You cannot get an access to because this is a platform as a service, and in a platform as a service, you lose the access to this particular machine. You cannot go ahead log into this particular machine and all these things out. The only thing that you can access is the app service or is the app service plan and the app services that are running on top of it. Only your application layer. This is what you can go in and let's say control out here, and this is what I'm now controlling. So again, just to prove my point, if I want to go ahead and create another website called 2000, I can just do that under the same plan. I can just say create. I can go ahead, you look at let's say the same resource group. I'll say this is 2000, same .NET Core application. I'll say this is ECS2, and I can reuse my plan. So the plan can be reused. You can create any number of let's say apps on a same plan. There is no restriction. So I'll just go ahead, let's say networking. I'll do all these things out here. Monitoring, I'll just disable this out for now, and I'll review and create this out here. So I can go ahead, create multiple things out here under the same app service plan as such. Yes, any questions still here? Anyone, any questions still here? Anyone, any questions still here that I can take? Okay, so to address the question, I am creating multiple app services, and whenever I create the app service, I'm getting this particular page telling that the web app is running and waiting for your content. Saying the application is live, but we don't have your content yet. If you are already deployed, it'll take about 5 minutes to reflect the content and all that stuff. So this is a default page what Microsoft is placing in. A default HTML page Microsoft is let's say giving in out here, telling that yes, you have a content and you can go ahead and let's say start working with this particular content and all that stuff. But I haven't let's say given my own page, or I haven't let's say went ahead and deployed my own page like the way we did in a virtual machine. So in a virtual machine, if you remember, we created the VM, we installed the IIS, we installed, we RDP'd into the VM, we installed IIS and all that stuff. And then finally, I downloaded some templates and I placed it into one of the folder called www root folder of that particular virtual machine out here of the VM. So I went into the root folder, I placed all my code, and it started displaying all the HTML content out here. Again, I want to do the same thing. Again, let's go into the app source plan, and just to show you all, my app service plan now has two different app services, demo 1000 and demo 2000. Same thing, same resource group and etc. But you can add multiple, let's say, app services out here is what my point was. So what I'll now do is I'll just go ahead, download some HTML templates, just like the way we did for VM. I'm just going ahead, getting the first template out here, something called electrical contractors or something like that. This is the website that they designed. So I'll just go ahead, download this out. I have a template, downloaded this out, and once downloaded, I'll extract this particular template, and this is what I want to do. So let's understand the problem that I'm facing. Let's understand how do we let's say let eliminate, or how do we let's say figure out a solution for this one. So I'll just say extract this out. Firstly, I'll extract all my let's say HTML templates out here, and once extracted, I have all my HTML template or all my HTML code inside my local machine. Now this is what I have right now. I have all my HTML templates inside my local machine, and I want to take all the HTML templates from my local machine and I want to deploy it onto my platform. And the platform here is the app service that is running on Azure. I just want to go ahead and transfer all this particular HTML files into the app service. When I say into the app service, I'm just telling that I want to copy all this particular HTML templates into the www root folder of the backend running virtual machine, because this is the VM that is powering things out, and this VM technically would have had multiple folders, and under this there is a folder called www root, where you know that if I put some content, then that will, let's say, go ahead on, let's say that will go ahead and get displayed on as a website out here, and everyone in the world can go ahead and start using this out. But my question is that, just understand my question here, if I want to transfer my content to the app service, nothing but to a backend running VM into the www root folder, how do I log into that particular VM? How do I transfer this content? Mr. Prasad, do you have any thoughts here? Yes. NSG, what do you mean by NSG here? VNet. Okay, what do you mean by NSG VNet? No, it's not in the air. Tell me, what exactly do you mean by NSG? Where did I create the NSG here? Yes, anyone, any thoughts here? This is my problem. I have my HTML content in my local machine. All the content is here. I want to transfer all this content inside the app service. When I say inside the app service, nothing but in the background there is a virtual machine that is running. I just want to go ahead, place my content inside the www root folder of the virtual machine that is hosting my app services. So yes, how can I do this? No, that's not a guess. Now, when I say NSG, it's not a network security group that I mean. Where did you see me create the NSG? Where did you see me create the virtual network? Yes. Anyone, any thoughts here?
Using
Visual.
PaaS,
Okay, good. Sorry, good, please.
using PaaS services or SaaS services?
Correct. So I have the PaaS service. So this is my PaaS service, which is the app service that I do have. So this is the PaaS service that I have. So PaaS service is already in place. I just want to go ahead and put my code inside this particular PaaS service. Again, as I'm saying, PaaS service is nothing but a virtual machine that is running in the background, which is represented by something called as an app service plan. And this virtual machine will have something called as a www root folder, because it comes installed with IIS. This VM comes installed with IIS out here. Is anyone, any thoughts here on what can be done? Seems like FTP hostname is pointing to www root. Great. I mean, good observation. FTP hostname is pointing to something called www root. Very good observation out here. Yes, this is what I'll be using. Something called as an FTP hostname. FTP here stands for File Transfer Protocol. FTP, for which you need a software. You need something called as a File Transfer Protocol client, And so there are a lot of softwares that are available out there in the market, but one thing that you can trust in, one thing that you can download for free, is something called WinSCP. So this is the official website to download WinSCP, which is a file transfer protocol mechanism. Just go here, click on download WinSCP out here. It'll take some time and download the installer. Again, a very simple installation procedure. Just do a double click on this, say next, and get this installed. It'll take a minute for this one to be installed, and once installed, just go to something called as a WinSCP application. WinSCP is a file transfer protocol mechanism which will help you transfer files to a remote computer or to a remote server. In my case, this remote server is nothing but the VM that is supporting my app services. The VM that is nothing but running, the VM here is nothing but the plan, and under the plan I have two different app services, and this particular virtual machine is supporting my app services out here. So what I want to do is I want to transfer all the files into that particular www root folder of the VM, for which I need to establish a connection, for which I need to, let's say, go and establish some kind of a login out here. And here it is asking me what is the host name. So if I go back into my website or into the app service, I have something called as the FTP host name. So I'll just copy this out completely. I'll paste this out here, and automatically it's understanding that okay, fine, this is FTP and etc. And it's now asking me for the username and password. So where do I get the username and password from, guys? Any guesses here? When it says
Which one you
username
said?
and password. Yes, Cyclones, go ahead, please.
Virtual
Test
machines.
user.
Test user, virtual machine. Okay. So did we give the username and password while creating the app service or the app service plan? Like, did we anywhere, let's say, use test user today?
No, no, no.
No, not at all, right? I mean, we did not even create this out, because reason being, this virtual machine is something that I don't really control. This is some, I'm not creating a virtual machine service today. I created an app service today. And now I'm telling in the background, Azure is going to give you a virtual machine. That's a different concept. But I did not really create any VM. I did not, let's say, do any credentials and all these things. So I cannot do this. What you can do is you do not really have access to the backend running VM. You don't have a complete access to that. But for doing basic FTPs, meaning now we are trying to do an FTP, file transfer protocol, meaning from your local machine to that particular, let's say, folder. You're trying to do an FTP out here. To do the FTP, Microsoft gives you something called as a publishing profile. So just click on this one, say get published profile. This will give you a simple notepad file. Just open this out. Once this scanning is done, I'll open this out here. In here, you have an XML document. There's an XML file which has things like the username and password. So just scroll here and you have the username and something called as a user password out here. So I'll just copy this out. This is my username. I'll just go back into my FTP mechanism. I'll say this is the username. And just go back into my notepad file. And I have a password here. I'll just copy this entire password, paste it inside this, and I'll say login. Okay, so disconnected from the server. Let's reconnect this out. Okay, disconnected, connection failed. Let's see. Okay, so some issue with the username and password. Let's try this out once again. Okay, just let's say try this out. This is username. And this is the password. Let me try this out once again. Okay, connection failed, and it doesn't really give me what is the error out here.
Port number, sir?
Not necessary. It's already FTP, so it's 21. So port number is also already 21 out here. So FTP normally works there. Let me close this and let me open this up once again. Okay, seems to be some upgrade with this one. Okay, let me download this out and real quick install this out here. The time it's getting downloaded, let me also try this out once again. That's a new session. It's an FTP session that I need, and I'll give my host name once again. I'll reset the publishing profile also, just to make sure that I have the right one. So let me copy the entire host name. Let's see, it's pointing out to the root folder. Let's see, sure. Let's see, this is something, and I do not have the root folder that is being pointed out here. For some reason, it's not getting copied. It's a site. Let's say www root. This is what I completely need. This is the completely fill path. This is something that I need out here. So site and root is what I need. But for some reason, this is not getting copied. So this is FTP protocol. Let's see, this is, okay, that is not getting copied. Is it okay? There's FTP and all these things out, root and etc. Let's try this out once again. Let's get my publishing profile once again, and let's try to, let's say, use that particular profile and the host name and etc. So I'm taking the full host name out here. This is what I need. For some reason that was not getting copied. Not sure why. Let's see. Let's take the username and password. Again, username remains the same, password I re-registered it, so I'll just go ahead and let's say copy this out. And it looks like this is the FTPS. Okay. Again, eliminated those things out there. So let me try this out once again. Everything is here, and so this is site and this www root. Let's try to log into this one. Okay. Let's see this. Okay. Prompting for the username again. You copy the username. And let's use the password. Some issue with my FTP clearly. Let's look at this. Okay, let me try with an FTPS connection then. FTPS, which is port 990, but let's see. There seems to be some issue with my software. Let me re-upload this up once again and let's see.
FTPS means secure SFTP or something like that.
It's a secure SFTP, correct?
Okay. Okay.
So give it a minute and I'll just go ahead and let's say accept this out and full upgrade is something that I want to do. Some issue with the FTP software, FTP client that I do have out here. And yes, I would launch this one. And let me now try to let's say do this up once again. And this is good enough. And let's see this.